Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here for today's video, all about everything you need to know about AAT. And I know just the lady who's going to help us out today. Rebecca, feel free to introduce yourself. And what helps the video is you are also qualified AAT.
Yes, so my name's Rebecca, and you might know me from Miss Finance Tutorials. So way back in the day when I first started out in my career, I was doing bookkeeping and I undertook the first 3 levels of the AAT. So I did that over 3 years. I did level 2, level 3, and level 4. And qualified before I went on to do my ACCA. No, my ACA even. Get it right. But yeah, I did the entire 3 years of the course. And when I did that, I was in work full time. So
Yep.
I got certain days off that I could go to the college and learn for the day, come back and study, do the exams, etc. And yes,
Spot
that
on.
was, yeah, with my employer at the time.
Marvelous, yeah. And I used to actually teach people to do AAT as well. So working in practice, we had students who came in, apprentices as well, and they were doing their AAT at the same time as working. So guys, if
Yeah.
you've got any questions about your AAT journey, I put all of Rebecca's details below, along with some free resources. Highly recommend you check them out. These are the things that we wish we'd have known at the start of our accounting journeys on there. But Rebecca, kick us off. AAT, what do we need to know about the process?
So, okay, so this really depends on how you're going to go about learning the AAT first of all. So there's different ways that you can learn the AAT. So you might be an individual who is in an employed role and you
Mhm.
have a student contract. So if you have a student contract, you're going to be eligible to, as I say, have day release to go to college, to study, etc. And then do your study in your own time, take your exams on the day
Yep.
that your employer approves. But the other way is if you don't have a student contract and you're looking to study the AAT to maybe get into bookkeeping and accounting, and you need to do that on, off your own bat.
Yeah.
Well, again, there's different options available to you there. So there are learning providers that you can go through in order to study online or to attend day classes, which you can find on the AAT website.
Hmm.
And again, there's other ways where you don't have to necessarily pay for that course yourself. So depending on what sort of qualifications you've got previously, and if you've ever undertaken higher education, for example, there might be grants available to you to pay towards that course. So
Yeah.
what I would do if you were thinking, first of all, about studying the AAT, I would go ahead and have a look on the AAT website and just have a little look about what grants there might be available to you before you go ahead and purchase anything with a study provider.
And which option you want to go, if it's self-studying or actually going through an employer. I used to be on a study contract. It's a win-win on both sides on there. And
Mm.
and for context as well, you can have AAT studiers who are maybe sort of fresh out of school, they fancy going into accounting, but AAT is a really good option if someone, you've worked in a completely different sector, 10, 15, 20 years, you've heard about accounting. AAT is a really good foot in the door to see if it's actually something that you would enjoy. Would you agree?
Yes, and the other thing, when I was studying, even back then, we had individuals who were coming from, sales. They were coming from completely different companies, different departments, different industries,
Mm,
looking to get into bookkeeping and accounting. And I'd always recommend that, even if you've been to university and you are then looking at the AAT, or you're looking at it just again from a completely different industry, look at level 2 first. And you might have some exemptions towards level 2, but the reason why I say look at that first is because that really does give you the building blocks to then go on to level 3 and
exactly.
level 4. And it's
Mm,
not about how quickly you do these things, it's about how much you understand.
exactly.
And if I'd have gone back and had to redo the whole thing again, because I did have exemptions towards level 2, I'd have still have done level 2 because it really helped with the content then at level 3. So just bear that in mind if you're thinking, okay, do I want to skip this or just jump straight into the next level?
Yeah, those foundations are so important because AAT can be a really good stepping stone for you to go on to do your professional examinations. So you could go and do
Yeah.
SEMA, ACCA, ICAW, and then you'd get exemptions from 3, maybe 4 exams, depending on how far you've got ahead on there. So if you don't get the basics right and you don't know your double entries, income statement, then you're going to have to go back at it because it's only going to get more complicated.
That's it. And I think these days, the AAT does a really good job of not just teaching you how to do your double entry, they teach you how to look at financial statements, they teach you how to analyze those financial statements and look at trends, movements, etc., really understand the numbers. They also help you with budgeting and costing. So
Yeah.
if, back in the day, if you'd have finished AAT, you might have been looking solely at just working in practice. But these days, you can go into a commercial role within a firm, within a company, and work in their finance department
Definitely.
and help them to budget, make management decisions, etc. So there's a lot that goes into the AAT. So it's not just a numbers game. It's let's really understand what's happening in a business game. So
Yeah.
yeah, highly recommend.
Oh, definitely. Especially if you're new into accounting or you've never considered it before and you're probably doing your research online. It's a case of, like you said, Rebecca, you could go work in practice for a small little firm. You could go work for a blue chip company on there. And it could just be that sort of spark to say, oh, this is a career, an area that I really want to get into. And for someone who's considering accounting, it's a really good qualification just to see if you like it. Give it a try, year or two, bit of experience, and you'll get better at your own financial statements as well.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know what the AAT stands for, it's the Association of Accounts Technicians.
Probably should have
Because,
said that at the start,
yeah,
actually.
what you'll find with accounting and bookkeeping is that we abbreviate a lot, and specifically when it comes to professional bodies, and you say something and somebody's just looking at you blank, like, okay, what do you actually mean? So, yes, just the Association of Accounts Technicians. Now, in terms of length of the AAT, I've seen individuals undertake the AAT in 6 months from level 2, 3, and 4. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. So you can actually do that in quite a short time frame if you really wanted to, and you were really dedicated, and you had the time, etc. But generally speaking, individuals take between 2 and 3 years to complete the AAT. And again, I wouldn't personally, after working with so many students and professionals, I wouldn't rush the process. You might think, okay, I want to get the AAT out of the way and done to then, get into a certain role, etc. But it's not going to help you in the long term if you don't really understand the topics that are being taught there. So take your time. It doesn't matter, and I'll say this, it doesn't matter if you fail an exam along the way. The best part of failing an exam, and I'm going to tell you that I failed one of my ACA exams by 2 marks.
So did I, so don't worry.
It's a learning experience, and then you think you learn how to study and how to apply yourself in the exam. So again, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to do. You've just got to make sure that by the end, when you've qualified with AAT, you understand everything that you've been taught and you can apply that in the real world. And I think that's what makes the difference between the AAT and some other qualifications that are available to you, because it does prepare you to be, there applying the skills that you've learned in the process, as opposed to it being just a textbook exercise and then you get into a job and think, I have no idea what is going on.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And the partnerships they have with the other professional bodies, which I'm sure people watching this will have had experience of seeing ACCA, ICAW, CIMA, that it's you do the sort of processes, you do your AAT first of all, and then you move on to one of the other ones, depending on what sort of your practice or business offers or the area that you want to go into.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, again, I've seen individuals who have gone to university, they've gone to college, they've gone to university, and then they have chosen to do the AAT qualifications before moving on to ACCA, CIMA, SIPVA, ACA, etc.
Yeah, any of them.
And the reason for that is because, again, if when you're at university, again, you're learning the text, you're not necessarily learning the doing of. So you're learning, yes, double entry bookkeeping, fine. You're learning a little bit about the processes, but you're not really, necessarily seeing those processes in action. So you're not seeing, okay, yes, you're learning this bit about ethics, but why does ethics really matter?
Yeah,
And the
practically.
they make a very good point of showing you why it matters and why it's so significant and important in our industry, for example. So it's almost as if AAT give you those building blocks to start at any point
Mm.
in your career and
Yeah.
apply that knowledge.
And it could be for someone who's listening today going, oh, should I, shouldn't I? I think it's a really good way just to sort of dip your toe in the water to say, is it really a career for me? Give it a whirl, couple of exams, go into a new accounting practice, whatever it may be, new role, and then see how you get on. And then that will be it, because you go, well, gave it a go, not really cost me much money on there, bought the textbooks myself, and we gave it a try on there. But
Mm.
Rebecca, are there any other things that are lingering on your mind that these are the fundamentals of AAT that a prospective or current student needs to know?
Yes, so I think it's really important that if you're at a stage where you're thinking to yourself, I finished college and I'm not sure, do I
Mm.
want to go down the university route or do I want to go down to the AAT route? Now, the AAT is a diploma, so you do get a diploma at the end of that. But the difference, I think, between if you were to go to university and do the AAT is that, again, the time frames is exactly the same, but I feel just after speaking again with so many different students that the
Mm.
AAT just it covers so many different topics than what most I'd say degrees do that are simply purely um accounting because again with this new 2022 syllabus that's just been introduced you've got business awareness in there.
Yeah.
um Let me just pop this up on here. So you've got the likes of principles of costing, which is a new exam, business environment, synoptics, etc. So again, when you're studying towards a degree, you've got your 3 levels or 2 levels, depending on what course you've undertaken.
Mm-hmm.
But you're undertaking exams at certain points, and it's only sometimes, in some cases, at the end of that level 3, the 3 years, that you are tested on the entirety or some of that content. But the AAT is testing you throughout the AAT qualification. And then at the end, you have synoptics to cover everything that you've learned and make sure that you really understand what you've been taught and you can put
Yeah.
that into practice. Um, so I think in terms of content, with the AAT, it's not just numerical. And I can't stress that enough. So
Mm.
when we say something's analytical, it's here is a scenario that's happened in a real world case, and we want you to tell us why this is a problem or what can be done about it, or what kind of management decisions can the business owner make based off the back of this. So it's testing all different elements of your learning and not just simply, as I say, double entry, prepayments, accruals, etc.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and to add to that as well, it's like loads of people don't realise that it's a case of the CEOs of these multinational blue chip companies are all qualified accountants because you've got to know the numbers, you've got to know about cash flow and profitability on there. And I think the AAT qualification or whichever sort of study route you go into, that the end goal of being a qualified accountant at the end of it shows that you know your stuff on there, along with that practical experience that you need to get on the way as well for you.
yeah, absolutely. And also, when you do go on to, if you choose to go on to study the
Yeah.
ACCA or CIMA or another of the professional qualifications, if you have that AAT qualification, that does give you some exemptions towards studying those other qualifications. So, whereas it might take you 3 years to complete the ACA, let's just say, you could have exemptions towards the first 3 or 4 modules of
Yeah,
that instead
it's
of completing the
roughly.
whole 15.
Exactly.
So it's, a beneficial from that standpoint if you're looking to undertake further education at a later point
Yeah,
as well. So but
exactly.
that in itself shows you how fundamental the AAT
Yeah,
is.
and
If
how
you
it's
if you gain
structured.
yeah, if you're gaining exemptions towards the higher professional qualifications, then that says something in itself, doesn't it, really?
Spot on. Exactly on there. And the other flip side, because it might not be for you as well. And sometimes
Mm.
you might put your hands up and say, you know what, I gave it a go. It was all right. But for me, I want to go down this career route or that career route. But it's a really good foot in the door just to see what it's like on there. So yeah, have you got any
Mm.
final other point, Rebecca?
Yeah, just say if even if you're not looking to get into bookkeeping and accounting, but you work in a function that is related to the finance department, such as sales or procurement, it's actually a really good qualification to undertake to understand why finance are asking the questions that they are, or why a certain process or procedure is as important as it is to follow certain
Mm.
steps. And gaining that understanding of, well, that's the reasoning behind it, I think actually enables communication between the two departments and
Yeah.
better working. So I think from that standpoint alone, it's a very significant qualification.
Completely agree with you. And I'm sure lots of people who are watching this recording now going, oh, but James, Rebecca, I've got so many questions I want to ask you.
Yeah,
Well, you can do, guys. It's all right. Feel free to leave us a comment below. We'll be sure to get back to you on there. And we're also going to link down there for you some of the free resources, along with Rebecca's quiz as well, which I'd highly recommend you check out. All the things that we wish we'd have had at the start of
yeah,
our sort of accounting journeys on there. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. So make sure you give it a massive like so that more people can see these accounting videos if they're interested in working in there. And I'll put Rebecca's channel along with mine at the bottom. So make sure you subscribe not to miss out on any more of our free content on there. But Rebecca, as ever, thank you so much for your insights today. Really
very welcome.
appreciate it. And guys, we'll see you for another video soon. We'll see you soon. Cheers.